All right, happy Wednesday morning. Welcome to Counterpoints. We're now, about 3 days into Kamala-mentum. The world has changed since the last time that Emily and I were here.
That's right.
So much has happened in a week.
Well, yeah, and we'll cover new video of the president looking tan, rested, and
still alive.
Ready. He is alive. Every conspiracy theory was at least momentarily dispelled yesterday, so we'll start with
Not every conspiracy theory. Lots of them still alive.
Raging, in fact.
But the one that he's dead didn't hold up.
Well, I'm sure people are still finding reasons to
doesn't look great.
Doubt the video. But yeah, he does not look great. We'll get to that in just a moment. We're going to start with a new video from Kamala Harris in Milwaukee yesterday, where she gave apparently a banger of a campaign speech to 3,000 people, largest campaign crowd that Democrats have drawn so far. Still sort of pales in comparison to Trump rallies, but it's a big crowd nonetheless, and she was feeling it. We have new polling numbers, too, that are fascinating. We're going to talk about the Republican reaction to Kamala Harris, which will be an interesting conversation. We're going to talk about the possibility of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris debating one another. Bibi Netanyahu is in town here in Washington, D.C. The protests have begun. We have some video and some thoughts, and Ryan has some original reporting on everything there. So we've got a big show and a guest who left the State Department.
We have two guests today. We're going to have Moataz Salim, who's going to be joining us from the Capitol, where there are protests outside awaiting Netanyahu's visit to Congress. And then we're going to have Anel Shalin, who was one of the State Department officials who resigned in protest over the Biden-Harris administration's policy toward Israel. She'll give us her assessment of, where Netanyahu is at this moment and where the war is going from here. Some good news, by the way, over at DropSite, the news organization that we started with Jeremy Scahill, we climbed over 200,000 subscribers now.
That's fantastic.
Which is very exciting.
Yes.
So we still have the Counterpoints discount going for that. dropsitenews.com/counterpoints will get you 20% off a year. So thank you, everybody, for signing up, for supporting it. It's really gratifying. We'll have some DropSite reporting that we dropped last night, actually, about kind of UN casualties in Gaza. I obtained a leaked report that we'll talk about later.
I also appreciate that you can say you dropped news.
Dropped it.
From DropSite.
Dropped it, yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, let's start with video from yesterday of current President Joe Biden. It feels sort of ridiculous to say that, but you can take a look at him. He was traveling from Delaware to Washington, D.C., appeared in person, looking really rough. You can see he actually has a mask in his hand. He's had COVID for a week now. His doctor says his symptoms have mostly faded away into the background, but Ryan, pretty interesting to finally see the president because nobody has seen him since we've heard his voice.
Right.
He called into his campaign headquarters, his former campaign headquarters, now Kamala Harris's campaign headquarters. But since he actually resigned from the ticket, that man hadn't been seen in days. He did it on Twitter or X and put out a statement. That was it. Here we see him, mask in hand, not really engaging or talking with anybody. He is set to address the country tonight, but that was really something. Yeah,
and the explanation essentially that leaked out of his team for why we didn't hear from him is that he was looking terrible. Mm-hmm. And the speech that he gives tonight announcing that he's stepping down will be drained of all kind of climactic energy and suspense. We know exactly what he's going to say, but it will still be a speech that will be played a lot in history going forward. When documentaries or news organizations talk about what happened in 2024, they will play a little clip of what Biden is going to say tonight, saying that he's stepping down and handing it over to Kamala. And my take was that he did not want to be a COVID-ridden, decrepit creature for that video that he knows is going to live on in posterity. Just watching him walk or amble, struggle from the car to that miniature version of Air Force One, the smaller plane, you can imagine what he would have been like several days ago, while also probably not getting much sleep, while also being at the lowest point, one of the lowest points of his political life. Mm-hmm. You can imagine that he wouldn't have given the kind of performance he wanted to. So that, to me, was always the most logical explanation for why we didn't hear from him. Well, also, by the way, clinging to office, and some dignity, trying to cling desperately to some dignity. Yeah, we'll see if he maintains that tonight. But it's
important and it's actually crucial to everything that they're campaigning on in the next several months. They're going to be hammered. They already have been hammered for this alleged cover-up of, I shouldn't say alleged, I mean, it was an obvious cover-up of Joe Biden's frailty. He is clinging to power. He will not resign from office. As far as we know, as of right now, they're saying that's not in the cards. So why would he want to give the American people any reason, just again strategically, to doubt that he can hold on to office? I have plenty of doubts as to whether he can hold on to office, and I'm sure that they will be on full display or they will be, let's say, validated by his performance tonight, because he's never given a performance that I've been like, this man is in his prime.
And I think one reason they won't get hit too much for the cover-up, because to the extent it was a cover-up, it was like a string bikini cover-up. Like, everybody could see what was going on. So it's like, okay, you tried, but you didn't really try.
I was so close to spitting out my coffee on that one.
Let's play some Kamala Harris so you can collect yourself.
Yeah, that's for the best at this point. Kamala Harris in Milwaukee yesterday.
So, Wisconsin, I am told as of this morning that we have earned the support of enough delegates to secure the Democratic nomination. And I am so very honored, and I pledge to you I will spend the coming weeks continuing to unite our party so that we are ready to win in November. He intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations and make working families foot the bill. They intend to end the Affordable Care Act and take us back then to a time when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. Remember what that was like? Children with asthma, women who survived breast cancer, grandparents with diabetes. America has tried these failed economic policies before, but we are not going back. We are not going back. Not going back. We're not going back. We are not going back.
I thought, so this is the line they've landed on, we are not going back. Feels pretty strong, like in terms of political rhetoric. Like,
Make America great again.
Make America great again. We are not going back. So they always struggled in challenging Make America Great Again, because whatever they said sounded negative. Mm-hmm. Oh, America was never great.
Or America's already great.
America's already great, which sounds boring. Like,
and a lot of people just aren't feeling that at the moment.
Yes,
not everyone,
and it clashes
but a lot of people
with how people are feeling. So they never had a good response to that. But now we are not going back again still creates lots of room for optimism. Like, we're going forward. Mm-hmm. And it's a very strong allusion to abortion policy. Like that, because, overturning Roe is going back to before Roe.
Right.
And of course, it also plays into the we're not going back to Donald Trump.
Yep.
Now, some people would say, well, going back to Donald Trump, I had more money in my pocket, et cetera. But going back still has a negative connotation, just rhetorically, compared to going forward. Everyone wants to go forward.
Yeah.
People really don't want to go back. So
That's a good point.
thought that was kind of something clever that they landed on. If she can continue to just only give speeches to cheering crowds for the next 2 months,
well done.
She's going to be in good shape.
Yeah.
She's going to have debates. She's going to have interviews. So we'll...
Yeah, can she maintain the calm momentum, or whatever you call it, when she actually has to respond to interviews? It's worth remembering that she had a really impressive campaign launch in 2019 with that crowd in Oakland,
20, 30,000, massive crowd, surging popularity. People loved her ads.
Yep, speech was good. The look was good. The vibes were good, and
then she became president, right? She won the nomination.
She was great in Iowa.
Cruised to the White House. Yeah, that's how I remember it unfolding.
So there's something about Kamala Harris that it just executing on the expectations is difficult for her. She does have one of the highest staff turnover rates. Mm-hmm. The Trump campaign has been hitting her on that a little bit, but there's obviously something going on there when you have a high turnover rate. That's a means that you're difficult to work with.
People also want somebody like Kamala Harris to do well, particularly Democrats, but I think a lot of independents too. They would love it to see somebody with Kamala Harris's background become president. It helped Barack Obama immensely. Like having the first black president made so many people like feel good about America. You know, because it fit into the line that everybody loves, that the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. It makes people feel like history is moving forward. And that all of those things you're saying about us, it's not really true. Look what we did.
Right.
And so, like, there are a lot of hopes and invested in her doing well. And I think that helped propel her in 2019 when she launched. I don't know if she has developed into the kind of vessel that can carry those hopes across the finish line. She wasn't then.
Yeah.
She hasn't shown that she has those skills during this term, but it's just 2 months. Like, can you do this for 2 months?
I was going to say, yeah,
Or was it 3? August, 3 months, sorry.
3 months,
well,
yeah.
the mail ballots go out in September.
Absolutely. And her persona, obviously she's been more in the spotlight since she was vice president than senator, but she wasn't seen as quite a laughingstock when she was senator. The memes never materialized then. And actually, I think if you go back and look, there weren't a lot of those types of clips. Granted, again, she's talking way more, she's appearing way more in public when you're vice president, but if anything, her persona became less well respected after she assumed the vice presidency. It wasn't a part of her campaign that she was kind of a...
She did not thrive in an environment where she was kind of flat-footed.
Yeah.
And one of the first ones that really started going around was, you go look up her riff on time.
Yes, that's a good one. That is a good one.
And she kept going back to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see. So But
she's feeling herself.
She's feeling
You
good.
can see it in the rally, and I think you can see it in some of the reports that are going to come out, which is what you were just about to turn to here.
Yeah. Selena Meyer in Veep was at her best when she was confident.
We should talk about the New York Times.
Yeah.
We don't have to get into it, but the New York Times wrote an entire story yesterday on the Veep comeback, which, by the way, I'm definitely a part of. I've been binging Veep over the last few days just because everyone's talking about it makes me want to watch it. I think it was one of the best comedies in American history, but all that is to say, the New York Times wrote an entire piece about the revival of Veep and didn't concede that it was because Kamala Harris is so eerily reminiscent of Selena Meyer. In fact, they just were talking about the Trump administration.
The Times reporter completely failed that assignment.
Incredible work.
But so Vice President Kamala Harris is threatening to get rid of, we can put this up on the screen, Jake Sullivan, Anthony Blinken, and Lloyd Austin, a clean sweep of the kind of national security foreign policy apparatus, which critics of the Biden administration would absolutely delight in.
Yeah.
So Jake Sullivan was walking through the Capitol yesterday with the sulliest look on his face that I think he could not mask. So that's something.
He always kind of looks like that, though, to be fair.
So rough, but still rough week for those guys. They don't like Netanyahu. He's coming to town with bags and bags of laundry, which is a hilarious story every time. The Netanyahus always bring loads and loads of dirty laundry because we
figuratively and literally.
We wash it for free, apparently. The taxpayers do for any foreign leader who comes, which is fair. You know, you come, you sully your clothes, we'll wash them, send you home with clean clothes. The Netanyahus bring suitcases full of dirty clothes, which I kind of respect. You know what?
I don't know that I respect that.
I think I would do that.
Is it even worth it to bring all of the clothes?
If you're not paying for the gas on the plane.
I guess.
Israeli taxpayers are paying for that, or probably American taxpayers are somehow.
And Kamala Harris, we're going to talk about this later in the show, obviously has, at least we're told privately, we do not know how she would govern. This is an indication, but we don't know if it's just a leak for the purpose of framing this all in the press. Has some major disagreements with the Biden administration on Israel policy. Let's also put this next element up on the screen. This is A4. Pro-crypto entrepreneur Mark Cuban, or Mike, I guess, says that the Kamala Harris team has reached out with multiple questions about cryptocurrency. I'm getting multiple questions from her camp about crypto, Cuban said Tuesday, so I take that as a good sign. The feedback I'm getting, but certainly not confirmed by the VP, is that she will be far more open to business, AI, crypto, and government as a service, Cuban stated. You and Crystal covered Jim Cramer yesterday, Ryan, but these two reports, both that she's ready to just gut the State Department's highest echelons, and she's already signaling that she's more interested in crypto. Biden's been fairly harsh on crypto. She's feeling herself. I think this is projecting an air of confidence and like she is ready to take over. She's been ready probably for a couple of years because we've all been kind of on tenterhooks over Biden's health. Those of us who were always concerned about it, we always kind of knew that there was something that could happen at any moment. He's an elderly man. It seems like she's just been waiting in the wings. And now that she's getting a really warm reception from the media, not just in the Veep New York Times article, but someone took a screenshot of all the pro-Kamala articles in the New York Times homepage yesterday. It's going really well for her to the point where she is now openly telegraphing. Obviously, fundraising-wise, it's helpful to telegraph to crypto people, but there are a lot of people in finance world. Wall Street, Semaphore had a report about Wall Street Democrats all of a sudden getting really juiced about Kamala, giving lots of money again. She's telegraphing that she's going to be a different candidate. Not just that she's going to slide in and take the mantle, but that she's going to actually try to make this a different ticket, not just, the Biden replacement ticket, a Kamala Harris ticket.
Well, the polls are ticking up for Kamala Harris. We've got a slew of them that have all been produced kind of post-Biden dropping out. We can put this first one up on the screen. So this still has, and this is what people need to remember, still has Donald Trump up 1 point. This Marist poll has had Biden up, even post-debate. Consistently, this NPR PBS Marist poll has consistently had Joe Biden over Donald Trump by 1 or 2 points. Now, when they add in Kennedy, we start to see that the drift of Kennedy's influence is anti-Trump. So they go from 46-45 with Kennedy not in the race, then they go to 42-42 with Kennedy in it.
This is the Reuters.
These
are numbers from Reuters Ipsos, which are similar in a two-way race. It's 44-42. Donald Trump. Margin of error
for Kamala Harris, to lead for Kamala Harris.
And the margin of error is plus or minus 3%. So the three-way race is where this is interesting, given the margin of error on this. Kamala Harris, 42. Donald Trump, 38. RFK Jr., 8. The other poll had him, at 7? The NPR Marist poll. So what you see happening there is in the three-way race, both of these polls show a bigger drop for Donald Trump. One thing that I read into this is a whole lot of RFK Jr. voters were just desperate for a sentient Democrat. Like a big chunk of the support for RFK Jr. was people who were so disgusted by what the Democratic Party did with Joe Biden. And I wonder, actually, as Republicans start making the case about the coup and the Kamala Harris honeymoon ends, media honeymoon ends, if that happens. I don't know if the media honeymoon will ever end, but at least the kind of vibe honeymoon, the pop cultural vibe honeymoon
it'll end,
ends.
and the resistance people will be so mad at the New York Times, like, how dare you, democracy's on the line. It'll happen, but go ahead.
But that's what I was going to say, that, that's a huge opening for the third-party candidates, which, again, might not be a big deal on paper, but then you look at those Rust Belt states, like what Jill Stein managed to put up in Pennsylvania, really upset Hillary Clinton for good reason. She wasn't wrong to be upset about the fact that people rejected her because they felt like she was part of the machine. As Republicans make the argument about the machine ordaining Kamala Harris, which happened so quickly in a matter of a couple days. We played the clip of Kamala Harris saying, just this morning I got enough delegates to win Wisconsin. That's insane. It's been, 2 days?
Yeah.
As that argument, I think, sort of pierces through the noise about having a new candidate and everything, it could still be dangerous for Democrats.
Yes, she has all of the vulnerabilities that she has had, since the national public was introduced to her in 2019. We talked about it on Monday. She does not prepare well. She doesn't handle questions that are obvious, that she knows are coming at her. The big knock on her in all of these reports that were done by the New York Times and Politico and others that delve into the staff complaints about her. The key one was that she refuses to prepare for obvious questions. And so in January 2019, when she launched her campaign, the New York Times came out with a piece by Lara Bazelon, who's kind of member of the Bazelon family, which is like Democratic legal royalty, really calling into question her bona fides as a progressive prosecutor, saying that she'd worked actively to keep innocent people in prison, and on, like really devastating piece. January 2019. It was July of 2019 when Tulsi Gabbard hit her with that in the debate. Basically regurgitated that Times op-ed, which had been widely circulated in Democratic circles. Like Kamala Harris had read that op-ed. Her team had 7 months to prepare for attacks on that. And when she got hit in the debate with it, she had absolutely nothing. Same with that famous Lester Holt interview where for days the media was asking, when is Kamala Harris going to go to the border? He asked her, when are you going to go to the border? So she knew the question was coming.
Of course.
And her answer was, we've been to the border. He's like, but you haven't. What? We is doing an awful lot of work here. And she's like, well, I've never been to Europe either.
That's an amazing answer. I rewatched it recently, and
that was Selena Meyer. Like,
perfect.
That was a Selena Meyer moment where you'd be watching people and be like, nobody would actually say that.
No, even for a politician, it's insanely bad because she's the one who brings up the "we've been to the border," and Holt goes, "You haven't." She's the one that invokes the "we" unnecessarily. It's just, I understand why her staff would complain about it because it seems to be the case.
Hey, if you liked that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Breaking Points.
If you want to see the rest of Counterpoints, go to breakingpoints.com to become a premium member and get the full uncut show every morning in your inbox and on Spotify.